What is happening, people? Another crazy week of college football come and gone, but this is going to be a little different video. As you can probably see by the title, we're going to be looking ahead in the college football week as some big things are coming up as November 5th, Tuesday. I don't know if this will go up on a Tuesday. I'm sure it will, but the college football playoff committee is going to post their first rankings. So as of right now, the rankings technically don't matter within college football. And I don't exactly know how they're going to do it. I don't know if they're automatically going to put the four highest seeded conference teams up there. I don't know if that's how they're going to do it. I guess we're going to find out. Obviously, as of recording this, I'm recording November 4th. I don't know what they're going to do. I have no clue because they're not going to post it. We're still going to go into this. We're still going to dive in. We're going to look at this upcoming week of college football. I have wrote 8 games down, and I think I have 7 honorable mention games. There's so many good games this week. It was really hard to pick just 8, and I'll give you the honorable mentions here in just a moment. Yeah, another fun week of college football. Huge implications for this college football playoff. If you don't know, 12 teams get in, 4 first round buys, and then there's 8 other teams after that. I was trying to think how many were after. It'll be interesting. Obviously, this last week, huge teams lost. Iowa State, Clemson. They were sitting at that 11-10 spot. I think they were tied, but those two teams fall out of the college football race, and Texas A&M. Can't forget about Texas A&M. So they're going to have their work cut out for them as a lot of teams switch and change, and obviously Ohio State beat Penn State. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. But let's move on to the honorable mention list. There's a lot, like I mentioned before, of honorable mentions that I want to bring up. There's about 7. Don't know if I'm going to put them up on the side or what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to run through them here. Syracuse versus Boston College. I think that'll be a fun one for the ACC. And I just really want to know what happened to Boston College after their win against Florida State, which now seems not impressive at all. They've kind of fallen off a cliff. They're 1-3 in ACC play, just not very good. And then Syracuse beat Virginia Tech last week. So, but Boston College 1-3 in their conference games this season. They're 2 for 3 in their last 5, 0 for 3 in their last 3. So just a team that I thought was going to be better just based off how they were playing. And I don't know if it's because their quarterback got hurt. Castellanos was doing really well. He's still doing pretty all right, but Boston College, the team I thought would be better. Next game is also still in the ACC. Duke versus NC State. Duke just became bowl eligible, I believe. Oh no, they lost to Miami. They a really good game against Miami. And they're 6-3. NC State looking to become bowl eligible, but I think Duke will probably win that one. Kennesaw State versus UTEP is another game I have on the list because both teams only one win on the season. Who's going to get that miraculous, unheard of number 2 win is the real question. Don't really have a horse in that race, but I think it's just interesting that these two teams in the same conference have to get 2 wins. And I mean, it's not like they're preparing for the number 1 overall draft pick or anything. South Carolina versus Vandy, another game that I think is going to be awesome. South Carolina, of course, huge win this last week versus Texas A&M, 44-20 for them. Vandy back ranked after they beat Auburn 17-7, and they actually have South Carolina as the favorite in this game. So maybe this is a conversation of who will be ranked at the end of the season. I think if South Carolina wins, they're probably most likely ranked. But if Vandy wins, they're probably still in the top 25. But I'm not gonna pick these games because they're just my honorable mentions. But Vandy and South Carolina, I might tune into that one. That's a 1:15 game on Saturday. It's on the SEC network though, so maybe not. Florida State versus Notre Dame, another game I have highlighted, and I think again just funny. We're gonna see how good Notre Dame can beat up on a really bad team. On the flip side, Florida State could come in to Indiana and beat the Fighting Irish, which wouldn't that be awesome? Well, not awesome, but wouldn't that be so funny? It's such a Notre Dame game to lose that I kind of want to be like I'm gonna pick Florida State in this game, but I obviously you can't pick the team that's only got one win on the season versus a top 25 ranked team. Always, you can't always do it. Oklahoma, Missouri, another game I have for my honorable mention list. I just think Oklahoma, they're starting to grind the gears out, starting to figure some things out. Obviously, they played Maine last week, so they move up to 5-4. They're looking to become bowl eligible. Still 1-4 in their first season in the SEC. As for Missouri, 6-2 overall. They are bowl eligible, and I mean they could still get in that SEC conversation, and they just got to win some crucial games towards the end of the stretch. Brady Cook's been hurt a lot of the season, so that's why they're out of the top 25, and they don't look like a top 25 team really. So just another game, another fun game that I might tune into depending on again, another SEC network game. Okay, maybe not, maybe not. Last but not least, Washington is going to go into University Park and play Penn State. Thought about putting this one as like my number 9, but I didn't have a lot to talk about. But Washington, Penn State could be fun. Washington still looking to be ranked 5-4. Penn State obviously coming off of the Ohio State loss last week. I think it could be a fun one. Will Rogers is awesome to watch. I really like him. I wanted him to come to Ohio State. I wanted a lot of guys to come to the Buckeyes, but obviously that didn't happen this season. So those are the honorable mentions. Sorry if there's a game that you wanted me to talk about and I didn't talk about. I do not care. For my first game, there's a lot of implications with this ACC play, but it's going to be number 4 Miami going up against unranked Georgia Tech. And the reason I picked this game, I mean, like I said before, a lot of implications within this one. If Miami wins, they stay probably at that number 4 spot. They might even move up to number 3, depending on the situation between Ohio State and the College Football Committee. But Miami, number 4, Georgia Tech, 5-4 on the season, 3-3 in conference play. They need one more illustrious win to become bowl eligible. They're not fighting for an ACC championship at this point, but this would be a huge win on their resume regardless. They have dropped they've dropped 3 of their last 5. My apologies. They lost to Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, and Louisville. Of course, we know Miami's story, undefeated. Their last couple games they've been fights. They've been a lot of fights for them. Georgia Tech, they only won by 4. Cal, they won by 1. Versus Louisville, they only won by 7. Florida State, not a fight. And then Duke, it was tough going into the half, but they were able to get it done in the end. All be all, they're really relying on Cam Ward, and I'm almost as we know, big Cam Ward guy, big Cam Ward. I don't know where my Miami shirt is, but I have one. Big Cam Ward guy. I'm almost scared if something bad happens to him that the whole Miami team will go down in flames, and obviously you don't want that to happen. So I'm not hoping or anything because that would not be cool, but I'm just scared if something does happen to him that things will go bad. I think Virginia Tech could have a shot in this game. I mean, they're at home. They beat some good teams, like I mentioned. They beat Duke 24-14. They beat a Florida State team who at the time was number 10 in the country, but they've lost to some other teams that you're like, ooh, maybe you shouldn't have lost to a Syracuse team who actually was really good at the time as well. Louisville, who's not ranked anymore, but was number 19 at the time, Notre Dame, and then Virginia Tech. So you could call some of these losses bad losses, but they win the games that they're supposed to. Florida State, Georgia State, VMI, Duke, North Carolina. This is their second toughest matchup of the season. They have to play Georgia towards the end. So if they don't win this one, they might have one more shot. So the rest of the schedule for the Yellow Jackets, Miami, NC State, Georgia, just some couple other games to look at for them. I think they could possibly beat NC State. They're going to come off a bye week. They need to find that one more punch. But for Miami, it truly means a lot more to them. So if I had to pick, going with Miami, they had a tough week last week against Duke, and Duke's not a bad football team whatsoever. Miami should win this, and I don't know where they get put after the committee, so I would assume they would be number 2 or 3. Or they'd be 3. They'd be 3. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't know where they'll get put, but I assume at 3. Again, I don't know how this committee thing works. I have the chance, I'll talk about it, but I don't know if I will. So give me the Hurricanes to beat Georgia Tech. Next up, we're going back to the SEC. Florida versus Texas is going to be the second game. Texas, number 5 team in the country. Florida is 4-3, or sorry, 4-4 overall. This one, I mean, this should be an easy win for Texas at this point. However, the way both teams have been playing, we saw how Florida played against Georgia this last week as they went into the half up 13-6. Obviously, the outcome did not stay that way as they lose 34-20 against the Bulldogs. And as for Texas, they went up against Vandy a couple weeks ago now, I think. Not this last weekend. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. They went up against Vandy and it was really, really close. So 27-24 victory for the Longhorns in their last game. So maybe a much needed bye week, a much needed break for the Longhorns is what they needed in this college football landscape. And as for Florida, they might be missing their stud freshman quarterback DJ Lagway. Lagway. I gotta look it up. See if we have to put it on the board. I do not need to put it up on the board. So Lagway is Lagway. Anyway, of course he got injured in the first half against Georgia. It is a hamstring injury, but Billy Napier, the head coach of the Florida Gators, is saying that they're remaining positive. He hasn't been ruled out yet. And if it was a really serious injury, he would be out already. However, still could potentially play in this ball game this season. He's at 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. You look on the flip side to Quinn Ewers, who's only missed a couple games, 1,300 yards, almost 14 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Ewers not having a great season if you look at Lagway stats and how the two teams are really in the battle, or not in the battle, but in the realm of college football where they are currently. That I mean, you Quinn Ewers stats not impressive for a number 5 team. We're just gonna put that out there, but I'm still probably gonna pick Texas to win this game, even though Lagway he's been great for the Gators, just not enough. I think the firepower and defense of Texas will be the mainstay in this one. Florida could pull off an upset depending on which Texas team we truly get. Are we going to get a Texas team that we saw go against Oklahoma? Well, pre after Quinn Ewers interception Texas, or are we going to see Georgia Texas or even Vandy Texas where they are battling and struggling in that game? And which Florida are we going to get? That's another question. Are we going to see the team that went overtime against Tennessee, or are we going to see first half Florida versus Georgia? Or we're going to see second half Florida. It all depends. There's a lot of question marks within this game, and Texas really needs to win the rest of their season and the rest of their games because they have to get to that SEC championship no matter what. I think it's SEC championship or bust. Even if they make the college football playoff, even if all these other things, they need to get there. Their remaining schedule: Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and then Texas A&M. Three fairly easy teams: Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and then Texas A&M, who's still currently ranked 15. So it really depends. All depends. I'm not sure what Texas team we're gonna get out. So just just watch that one. Could be a fun one. Next, we're sticking with the SEC. This time, it's going to be a ranked versus ranked battle between number 2 Georgia and number 16 Ole Miss. I think this could be a really, really fun game, depending on if Ole Miss is going to be Kentucky Ole Miss. Again, I keep going back and forth between teams and their individual characteristics, but I think there's two different sides to Ole Miss, and you could say that about any college football team, really. You gonna get Kentucky Ole Miss, or are you gonna get this Ole Miss that we saw last week, who put up 63 points against Arkansas, a 63-31 victory this last week? And then Georgia, are we gonna get first half Georgia versus Florida, or second half Georgia versus Florida? Which Carson Beck are we going to get? That's the real question. He has not looked great this last couple games, and Ole Miss 2 weeks in a row, huge wins, beat Oklahoma, beat Arkansas, and this is going to be one of their toughest challenges this season. And I mean, I don't want to play hater on Georgia right now, but I think Ole Miss could win this game at home. They're actually percentage-wise favored 53.9 to 46.1, and Georgia's only a 2.5 point dog. You get the 3 points for Ole Miss, so actually they're like a 5.5 point dog. They're favorite. Sorry, not dog. 5.5 point favorite. I think Ole Miss could really pull the upset. Obviously, big Jackson Dart fan. Not a huge Carson Beck fan, but I haven't watched Georgia like at all this season. I'll be honest. I haven't watched them at all. I just don't have any interest watching Georgia because they're probably going to be in the college football playoff. I don't have any interest in them. Ole Miss, I might put this one on. There's a lot of games I'm like, I could put this on. I like Ole Miss. Might pick Ole Miss. You know what? Whatever. We're gonna pick Ole Miss. So this probably will be on our nosebleeds graphic, and I'm gonna be probably the only one picking Ole Miss. But you know what? Chalk me up as upset. Watch. I'm trying to spice things up. I'm sick and tired of the same teams winning each week, staying in the same spot. I want Ole Miss to get into the playoffs so bad. I want them to be in it so bad. And I don't know exactly who their rest of their season looks like. So Georgia, Florida State, Mississippi State. If they win this game, they probably win out. And that's going to be huge for them. However, you look at Georgia, I mentioned previously that they play Georgia Tech, but they play Ole Miss, Tennessee, Massachusetts. Oh gosh, why? This is a thing that really makes me mad. Happened with Oklahoma last week. Why are these huge teams playing random games in the middle of conference? Why? Why is this happening? I don't know if this is an SEC thing, or what. But why is Massachusetts heading to Athens, Georgia on November 23rd to play a football game? It's so frustrating because if you look at the way like teams build their schedule, this is a get right game for them. Like that's what it's supposed to be. This is so they go into the Georgia Tech game with a different mindset, and then obviously go into the college football playoff with a different mindset. But doing these type of things makes me so angry, and I hate it. I truly hate it. I just don't know what to say anymore. It just makes me so frustrated. Just schedule another SEC game. Just do it, or make it a bye week. Who cares? Who cares? I know I may be the outlier in this kind of conversation here, but this should not be happening. Should not be happening. Makes me frustrated. Unless Massachusetts gets the upset, I will stay frustrated. Next game up, Michigan versus Indiana. And if things currently stay the way they are, Indiana will most likely be in the college football playoff. As long as they lose, they can only lose one of their final three games. These final three games, Michigan, Ohio State, Purdue. They can only lose one of these games, and if they lose to Ohio State, chalk them up as they're in. If they lose to Michigan this week and Ohio State the next week, they're not going to be in. But I still think they remain ranked. However, I I like this Indiana team. They're a fun football team to watch. Uh, and this is going to be a really good challenge for them. Michigan defense, obviously, still really, really good. There's a lot of positives with this Michigan team. Offense is not one of them. Obviously, Donovan Edwards not a huge factor this season as he's been hurt. I think he's been hurt. I don't know if he actually has been. I was trying to look it up. Regardless, Donovan Edwards still not like he's not have that boom we saw from last season and the season previously, really, because that's the season he almost had 1,000 yards rushing. You look at Donovan Edwards, you want him to be great, but there's not a lot of offense positivity for Michigan. They need to find a spark somewhere. They need to find it really, really quick because they need one more win to become bowl eligible. And they still have the game against Ohio State. That's never a for sure game to pick. Indiana looking to become the kind of Cinderella story of the college football season. 9-0 overall, 6-0 in conference play. Huge game against Michigan. I'm still going to take the Hoosiers until I'm proven otherwise, or the Ohio State week because I'll probably still pick the Buckeyes because Ohio State will be at home. Indiana, really good. Really, really good. Expect them to be in the college football playoff. For my next game, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be interested in this game, but I find it very, very intriguing. And that's the number 18 ranked Army Knights going into the North Texas Mean Green in Denton, Texas. And the reason this has me so intrigued is because you look at these two teams and two very, very good offenses. Let's just put that there first, but they do completely different things on the offensive side of the ball. Army, the leading rusher in all of college football, they're almost at 3,000 yards rushing as a team on the season. And you look at Texas on the other side, one of the best passing offenses in college football. They're about fourth, it looks like. Not huge on the other side for passing and rushing for these teams. And this one will be a really fun one. If the guys don't pick this, I will probably pick this because I'm really invested in both of these teams. For one of my college football players, I started at North Texas, so I have some resonance with them, I guess. Residence? I don't know if that's the right word. Somebody correct me down below. For Army, they're just a fun team to watch, and how can you not root for Army? Like they're literally the military. It's impossible to not root for them. And you know what? I They're fun. They're just fun to watch. If I had to pick a team, this is a tough game to pick because I love both. Just really love both. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with Army. I think they're just a better team overall, and defense is better. And again, how can you just not root for the military? Even though I really love North Texas, love their offense. I love Caleb Morris. He's so fun to watch as a quarterback. Almost 3,000 yards passing on the season, 26 touchdowns. Fun team to watch in North Texas. If you can tune into that one, that one's on ESPN too. Don't watch any other games. Don't watch any of them. Watch Army versus North Tech. Going back to the ACC, Clemson versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech 5-4 in the season, looking to become bowl eligible. As for Clemson, huge loss last week to Louisville, 33-21 at home. At home, that is the most important part of that story. Virginia Tech lost at Syracuse in overtime, 38-31. And Clemson they messed up. They messed up big time because with this loss, they moved below SMU in the ACC standings, and SMU huge win against Pitt. They play some not great teams the rest of the season. So Clemson is hoping for either a Miami downfall or an SMU downfall to become or to be put in that SEC or ACC championship game. And I don't know if that's going to happen. They have a tougher schedule towards the end. Virginia Tech hit again another non-ACC game versus the Citadel, and then South Carolina, which that's a rivalry. But I think this game it could be fun as well. The way Virginia Tech has been playing, besides the two losses on their last games, they've been really good and putting up a lot of points. So if you look at their last five, Miami, they put up 34 in the loss, 31 against Stanford, 42 against Boston College, 21 against Georgia Tech, and still 31 against Syracuse. A lot of points being put up. As for Clemson, they obviously a lot of wins in their on their side, 6-2 overall. They can't lose another game the rest of the season if they still want to be in this college football race, and I don't know if that's going to happen at all. I think I'm still going to go with Clemson just based on vibes, ranked team. Uh, Virginia Tech, they need that one last win, and I don't know if this is going to be it for them. Going to our first Big 12 game, and I think this is probably the most important Big 12 game of the season, and that's going to be Colorado versus Texas Tech. The reason why I say this is maybe the most important game. Colorado looking to be put into the Big 12 championship game, currently 4-1, 6-2 overall. They need to really win out the rest of the season. Texas Tech, however, 4-2 in conference play, and they beat Iowa State. They beat Iowa State last week, and that's the big key here because that gave Colorado a position to be put in that Big 12 championship game. I think they still probably need Iowa State to lose one game, I think, because the overall standings and things like that, Iowa State is ahead of Colorado. Yeah, it's got to take it one game at a time. So Colorado really needs to win this week against Texas Tech because Iowa State, they don't play a very tough opponent until Kansas State. 3 games, Kansas, Cincinnati, Utah. Cincinnati's not bad. Cincinnati's not bad, and Utah is kind of down there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Colorado needs to win this game, and they need to win it pretty favorably because the way it is going right now, I think they would technically be out of that Big 12 championship game because BYU is still undefeated, and as of right now, it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. And Kansas State is right behind them, knocking on the door, and that's Colorado's only Big 12 loss. Gonna go with the Buffs here. I think Colorado's really good. Sorry, I don't know what to say. Shadur Sanders is awesome to watch, even though their offensive line is atrocious. It is one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. Even though they got a bunch of new people, it is still terrible. No run game either for the Buffs. And Travis Hunter's almost up to 1,000 yards receiving on the season. Oh my goodness. 8 touchdowns? Man, I think this one will be a fun one. I might try to tune into this one. I try to watch a Colorado game every other couple weeks, just trying to tune in, see how they're actually doing, things like that. Because they were like one of the closest teams to me back home. So give me the Buffs. Give me the Buffs. Last but not least, probably game of the week and the biggest college football implication besides Georgia and Ole Miss. Going back to the SEC, Alabama versus LSU. Alabama, number 11 team. They would technically be in. They'd have that last position, if I'm not mistaken. I think they would be the 12. LSU sitting right outside. This is a huge game because whoever wins this stays in that conversation, and because you can't have a 6-3 team in the playoff conversation. You can't unless like some miraculous thing happens and everything blows up and blah blah blah. You know how it goes. Garrett Nussmeier, obviously their quarterback. Jalen Milroe has not been what everybody really wanted him to be this season. People thought he was the Heisman favorite, but now it's a guy from Boise State and a guy from Colorado who are the favorites, not the Alabama quarterback. No, it is some other people, and a good win a couple weeks ago for Alabama as they beat Mizzou, and a bad loss for LSU a couple weeks ago as they lost to Texas A&M. Both teams coming off a bye. Who's really going to have the better team coming off of that? That's the question. Is Alabama going to be the better team off the bye? As we've kind of seen them in the past, they've been able to adjust for the rest of the season. And LSU, we don't. I still have a lot of question marks for this LSU team. Not 100% sure how to feel about them. Alabama's remaining schedule. LSU, Mercer again. So it must just be an SEC thing. Maybe because the SEC doesn't. They don't have enough teams as they've added to. What is going on? What is happening? Then they play Oklahoma and then Auburn. Those are their final games. Not tough games for the Crimson Tide. As for LSU, of course, play Bama. Then they have Florida, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. They have a tougher schedule towards the end of the season. If I had to pick a team that was gonna get into the playoffs, it would probably be Alabama just based on the rest of their schedule and if they would win this game. But I think LSU could lose to Vandy and Oklahoma. I don't. Again, you can look at Alabama and say the same thing. They could lose to Oklahoma and Auburn. I really don't know who to pick in this one. Whatever. I picked a team. We're gonna go with the Tigers. I at home is a huge plus at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. Alabama obviously plays great anywhere. You put them in a location, they'll probably win. They have 2 losses on the season to Vandy and to Tennessee, and they beat some good teams. They beat South Carolina, they've beat Georgia, but it's tough because I don't know. Again, I don't really know how to feel about these 2 teams. Still gonna go with the Tigers. I don't know if that's gonna work out for me. I've never been confident in an LSU team. Well, that's not true. The Joe Burrow year, I was very confident in an LSU team, but this one I don't know how to feel. I just don't. And this is, can we say, the worst Alabama team we've seen in a really, really long time? And maybe that's because Jalen Milroe just isn't as spectacular in like the stats and things like that we've seen from even last year to Bryce Young. Yeah, I'm still gonna roll with the Tigers. Give me LSU. Give me another upset. I picked 2 upsets technically. The SEC is just a minefield. SEC and the Big Ten are just minefield. That's gonna do it for me in this video. I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below what you think the biggest upset of the week is going to be. I think mine, as of right now, is Ole Miss, based off of all that I've had. Also, comment which game you were most interested in this week. I think that'll be fun. I want to thank you for watching the video. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share with all your friends because the views on the last video did not do very good. I'm asking you to go watch that one as well. I'll have like the tag or whatever up there so you can like click on it and go watch it because that would be cool. That'd be cool. Did you know you could do that? I don't. I don't know. On the screen, it'll probably also have a recommended video and then like a subscribe thing. So yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and my name has been Tavin, and I'll see you guys later.